Hey everybody, welcome to She Shift. So who is ready for shifting? Is that you? Or are you a little hesitant or are you afraid? Are you facing some fears? Well, if that's you or so much more, guess what? You're in the right space. I can't wait for you guys to see who I have as a returning guest. We're going to have some fun. But before I do that, let me get some housekeeping. You all know I always do three things. First one is, what's your evening beverage? Drop it in the feed and let us know. I already had my water, so don't no one throw me to the wolves. I did. But I am drinking my tea with lemon, and it's unsweetened tea. That's all I ever have. And then y'all know I'm still on my healthy eating journey. So I would love to hear your snack, your go-to snack. And then lastly, if you have any questions, drop them in the feed. We're here for you. You know, I always tell you, I don't know the answer. I have so many women that are out here with me, locking arm in arm. We can go at and help you for your what's next. So if that is you and so much more, come on in. Also, too, tonight's show is sponsored by Vision Made Magazine. Vision Made Magazine is a quarterly woman empowered magazine. It is the new issue is out. We're super excited. And in there, we have stories that we talk about how to go after your vision. Your vision. Or better yet, if you're looking for some healthy mindset tips or tricks, we have that in there. And y'all know, I have to say the best for last. You know, I love me a good old vision board. So we have in there, Empower Her Vision. And then also too, look, I'm gonna throw in a little extra one where it's Empower Her Bookshelf. And we talk about books. Y'all know I love a good book because I believe in expanding our minds. And one way to do it is by reading a book. Yes, I do read, but I also now listen to books. So if you are interested in gaining a copy of Vision Made magazine, drop it in the feed. And guess what? For tonight, from me to you, I got a gift. I'll give it to you for free, but you got to give me your email address. So without further ado, I'm bringing to the stage who is returning with me, and we're going to have some fun. We even talked about it. It's Dr. Jenny. How are you?
I am fantastic, Pamela. I'm so happy to be back here on She Shift.
Oh, we are excited to have you. Okay, even though you're a returning guest and I know who you are, can you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Of course. So, my name is Dr. Jenny Wahlig. I am a relationship expert, mentor, speaker, and educator. I work primarily with powerful women, entrepreneurs, visionaries, leaders, change makers to help them have powerful marriages, better marriages, marriages that lift them up, feed their souls and support their missions and their purpose in every area of their life. And I do that even if their spouse is not ready or willing to do the work with them for now. I also do that in partnership with my partner and co-founder of Powerful Love Relationships, Calvin. So if your spouse is on board with doing the work with you, we get Calvin in to work with him, her, or them. So we can really make sure that we are supporting your entire couple's system and getting the results that you need.
I think that is so important, especially when we were talking about. So, are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
I'm so geeked, you guys. Look, y'all, you know I'm excited. So, the doctor and I, we were talking about as we were sitting on the couch together, even though we're virtual, talking about peeling it back, all the layers. As it is important as we talk about the shift comes more. It's going deeper, and that's what I want us to do. And Dr. Jenny is the perfect person for this. I want women to understand that the only way the shift can happen, and I feel successfully, is having to deal with the inner self.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's hard. It's so hard and it's scary, but knowing that you're not alone in the shift and you're not sitting on the couch, as we talked about before. But Dr. Jenny, let's go. Let's start talking about the peeling the back, the inner, having a relationship with our inner self.
Hmm. Let's do it.
I think that's hard. I mean, it's it is hard. We were talking about it, earlier, where here I've created this relationship with someone, and I'm like, oh, what? Wait, where did this come from? And I got blindsided because I wasn't paying attention. Um,
Hmm.
and now the shift in the relationship has to change. Now I'm like, the scary part comes, but it's necessary.
Hmm.
And so, with that being said, doctor, first let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, so the foundation of the work that I teach and support my clients in learning, the thing that actually makes the difference in transforming our relationships is that inner work. It's something that we call relational leadership, or sometimes we refer to it as empowered accountability, which is a framework that we teach. The idea of relational leadership, that's like being aware of our inner state, of like how we're thinking, how we're feeling, what parts of us are showing up, whether we're in fear, whether we're operating from a state of love and sovereignty or self-protection or caretaking. If we're in, like adaptive child parts that came from our traumas or our past, or whether we're in our wise adult self where we're connected to higher power and what's in our highest good and the highest good of all. And in that awareness, right, we are able to shift into those spaces where we are more powerful, more empowered, more conscious, more connected to love, more connected to wisdom and what's in our and everyone's highest good, and then can consciously choose how we want to respond in our relationships.
Hmm.
Right. But doing that, as you named, it can be really scary. There's parts of us that are going to be really afraid to take that step, to make that shift, to use our voice and speak our truth, to risk upsetting somebody or hurting their feelings, especially as women, because we have been so well trained, so well socialized not to do those things.
Hmm.
Right? To stay small, to stay quiet, to prioritize other people's feelings over our own, to not speak truth to power. Um, and if we really want to shift, if we really want to lead our lives differently, more successfully, our relationships more successfully, that shift within ourselves is going to require courage. I cannot talk about shifting our relationships without talking about the courage it takes to do this inner work of relational leadership.
And I agree with you. That's what we were talking about. And so when we get this courage, this inner courage, which it takes a lot of time, do you agree or disagree?
You know, I disagree, Pamela,
And why is that?
because courage is a choice.
Mm.
Courage isn't no longer being afraid. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyways.
I like that. So as we gather the courage, so for those women that are like, yeah, you guys sounding, you're saying my story, you're speaking my language, but I don't know where to even start mustering up that courage. What would be one thing that they could start today or start working on gaining that courage?
Mm. You know, I would say the first thing to do today is to decide that you're going to. I'm
Mm,
going to shift. I'm going to start speaking up for myself. I'm going to start I'm going to stop doing all this emotional labor. I'm going to stop doing all the caretaking. I'm going to honor my needs and ask for my needs. I was actually just talking to a client today, or a past client, who's sharing that, when she first reached out to me and Calvin, my partner, all she had done, she's like, all I did was start asking for my needs to be met, and my whole marriage blew up. Like they had gone almost 20 years,
I
but
believe.
she could no longer tolerate not getting her needs met. And she finally hit that point where like, I can't do this anymore. I need to start asking for my needs I need something to shift. As soon as she started asking, like everything fell apart, right? Which is why she reached out to us to learn the tools to not. So we know that like, yep, things might crumble a little bit. So
True.
and
True.
and I'll say this, loves, to you who are listening, decide that you're going to, and decide you're going to be okay, no matter what happens. Because that fear part of you is telling a story that if someone else thinks away or acts away or something else outside of yourself happens in a way that you don't prefer, that you are not going to be okay. But the truth is, you have so much power and strength that you don't even realize, like, you're not giving yourself the credit of what you've already been through, what you've already accomplished, what you're already carrying. I mean, our power as women is fucking incredible.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know?
I agree. But you know what? You're right. But so many of us be so complacent, or maybe not even complacent, but you're right, fear of the what's next. And so many of us crumble thinking, and you're right, fear is
Constantly.
playing in our head so
Mhm.
many times. And I can really contest to that. It was me too. Now the one thing I've started doing is I have to start being aware, and that was one thing we did talk about, is
Mhm.
being so intentional now that I watch what is going on in my space
Mhm.
very much so. The the light but the light bulb went off when I noticed that here I have had this going on in my space, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, what did that come from? I told Dr. Jane, I was like, oh, I didn't even, where was this at? And I didn't pay attention to it. So I have now started becoming more aware of it, and understand though, the relationship, may it be good or may it be bad. You have to understand. I'm with you. I've now made it in my mind. I'm if I want to do where I want to go, and if I want to shift to get to where I need to shift, that has to be. And that's one thing that's the second part I do now. I do a lot of talking to myself, and it's
Mhm.
positive talking, because for a while there I'd be like, that ain't gonna happen. I used to be like, girl, that ain't gonna happen to me. But now, knowing that, I do a lot of positive mind talking to myself,
Yeah.
because you're right, the negativity, it speaks so loud that I miss it. Uh,
Mhm.
I know I'm not the only one, and I'm sure, the ladies, like, yeah, after the relationship crumbled, I could understand that. I
Mhm.
could. I
Mhm.
can. I can
Yeah.
see that so much. Well, doctor, let's talk a little bit about, as we talk about the relationship, we hear a lot about the equality in relationship, but empowerment goes beyond 50-50. What does true power sharing look like in a conscious relationship today?
I love this question.
Look, that one was, I had to circle that one. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that curve.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. So let's talk about power. Let's talk about
Mm,
equality, or I would like to actually change our language to talk about equity.
please, let's.
Because
Hmm.
when we think equality, we think equal. My kids
Hmm.
complain about equality all the time. It's not equal. It's not fair. I'm like, like
Right,
you're 11, they're 7.
right,
It's not gonna be equal.
right.
It's gonna be fair given the differences in who you are and where you're at and what you know and what is appropriate for you. The same is true across all kinds of differences, intersections.
Hmm.
Like I think it's really important. We do not talk enough about the way that power, privilege, and difference play out in our relationships,
So
whether
true.
that be gender dynamics, or age dynamics, or or even neurodiversity, mental health, education, family backgrounds. There are so many different aspects of our life, and it can be
Mhm.
different. There's ways that I'm very privileged compared to my partner, and ways that he's more privileged than me, not as
Mhm.
many. Um, and so when we're talking about real power sharing, real equity, and this was transformational for me to learn, to actually figure out how to make my relationship with Calvin work.
Mhm.
Um, we have to look at what is like what is in our partner's capacity.
Mhm.
So, for example, uh, you know, how do I want to? Where do I want to take this? Because there's a couple ways I could. Let me say it this way, because I think this might be the most powerful way I could get two things said at the same time. First, I will say I've been thinking and learning and talking a lot lately, actually, Pamela, about the way that the system of patriarchy plays out in our relationship dynamics. I actually did a
Mhm.
really one of my, I think, my most powerful talks last week. I do weekly catalyst conversations for relationship revolution. Is what I call them. And I spoke to the influence of patriarchy in our relationships, and that is very much about it speaks to a power dynamic that is not necessarily chosen, but it does not allow for equity in the sharing of power in relationship, because it it deems feminine qualities such as intimacy, vulnerability,
Mhm.
neediness, caretaking, emotions, connection, right? As bad and weak, and right, like all the things that relationships are made of
Mhm.
societally, right, are devalued as compared to the things that we attribute with masculine qualities like independence and power and success and leadership and stoicism and non-emotionality, right? And right.
Mhm.
So what happens in this dichotomy um, is that our typically our men, or people on the masculine side of things, regardless of which body you're in, um, are in positions of power where we women are taking care of them. They don't realize they're in positions of power, but they also don't know how to lean into the vulnerability of intimacy to create safety for their women, so their women are unhappy, and they don't understand why we're unhappy. This is a much bigger conversation. I'll leave it at that. But I bring that up to say that the conscious sharing of power, the equity piece, is a both and of men, or the masculine leaning person, learning how to give up some power in place of vulnerability, in place of open-heartedness, of place of like stepping down,
Mhm.
right? Like coming down and lifting his partner up. And also a sharing of power for the woman who is in a position of privilege, insofar as she has had the training to know how to connect to her emotions, to know how
Mhm.
to speak to emotions, to know how to communicate, right? And she wants her man to know how to do that, but he
Mhm.
doesn't know how. And so equity, like, is about partnering together to support one another in the relationship's success, and really to support one another in the other person's growth. Which is another way to say this, and then I'll pause on this question. Another way to say this is that I think real power sharing, conscious power sharing in today's relationships, is about recognizing our relationality, that we
Mhm.
are in relationship with one another, that what affects me affects you, that
Mhm.
that it's not my job to do your work. It is my job to do my work, but it is
Right.
in my best interest to help set you up for success in the work that you have to do, to help make it easy for you to give me what it is that I'm asking for. And part of that, of each of our work, however, is both understanding where we have power and privilege,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And supporting our partner in seeing where power, privilege, and difference may be playing out such that they don't realize it, because that's one of the pieces of
Yeah,
privilege, is that we don't see it when we have it,
true. I agree.
right?
I agree.
So, I mean, this is like a big, deep conversation
Oh my
most
goodness,
couples are not having, but we need to have these conversations
we
because they are
do.
playing out in all of our relationships. I
I
promise you.
do too. So let me ask you this though. Do you think as the equity and power as it is, I think I can see the dynamics of it shifting. And it could be though, let me say this though, it could be that it's shifting. I can see it so clearly now, more so now than I did back then. It's because
Mhm.
what's going on in society, or it could be that the age that I'm into, or it could be the both, or it could be the journey. But do you notice that the shift happens at any particular age group versus another age group, or is it just all over the place?
Where we're making this shift into greater equity,
Yes.
I think so. I have some evidence of one thought and I have a guess at another.
Okay.
So I have I have evidence that's suggesting, in the work that I've done, that women in our age group, um, like we tend to kind of reach a stage of consciousness, of personal growth,
Yes.
where we are no longer willing to tolerate what has been. We kind
Mhm.
of like click into like, no, something better can exist for me, and I'm gonna go after it. So I think that
Yes.
there's a stronger push in this cohort. Those of us between 40 and probably mid 50s.
Mhm.
I think also that this is, and so that's my evidence. My guess is, and I'm not super connected to the young emerging leaders in the world, but I have a sense that um, the like emerging generation is
Yes.
going to have a little bit more consciousness than we did, and is going to ask for this shift sooner, is going to like bring the shift in sooner, possibly because they're seeing their parents, us, making this shift, right?
Which is good, which is
It is
good
good.
because we need for them to see it earlier than later, which then can help adjust to what's going on in society more
Right.
so than it is now. I think now it's a shock. I think I see so many people like and it's such a total disarray and shock, like they don't even know what to do. And I think
Yeah.
that's why there is that disconnect between the equity and power, that
Mhm.
everyone has lost the connection is just like, okay, what do I do?
Mhm.
And everyone is so like I said, so in discombobulation that they don't know. So I wish that I too had the tool or maybe the knowledge to start paying more attention sooner than
Mhm.
now, because I feel that the dynamics in my life may have shifted or be different than they are now.
Yeah.
Don't let me say this because I know someone is going to come down me and say, well, you're regretting it. Absolutely not. I know everything happens for a reason and it happens
Mhm.
on time. However,
Mhm.
there could have been something I could have did just a little bit of something different. So I
Mhm.
could have seen the dynamics shifting, and as we said, be able to put my foot on the brake and say, hold up, time out. I'm not doing
Mhm.
it. And let's
Mhm.
learn how to make the equity and power work in the relationship. And I'm not just saying relationship as husband and wife. I'm also saying relationships as in those that are going to come to my table,
Yeah.
and going to help me build the table of what I wanted to build. I
Mhm.
think that's also where we are losing the equity and power as well, where we're perceived as, well, it's just over here in the marital or in no, it's all. encompassing in everything.
Oh yeah. These relationship skills are transformational in every aspect of our life, right? When you
Mhm.
know how to lead yourself in relationship, when you can do this inner work and show up powerfully, um, in if you could do it in your marriage, you could do it
Right,
everywhere else. That's your hardest space,
right,
right? But yeah,
right,
it's in our businesses or our careers. It's in like those we gather around the table, as you say, like as we build our dreams and try to create something that matters in our lives. It's even, I'll add, I think important in how we are parents, how we
yes,
see our children as people and not property,
right,
right? Like as sovereign beings. Um, and so there's a lot of paradigm shifting that I feel like we are so on the cusp of, which is, again, for those of us who feel that and are kind of on that wave and in that path, the contrast of the direction of our society, it's like our
right,
river has been suddenly stopped and pushed by a big wave the whole a different direction. It's like, what is
right,
happening right now?
right, right.
Um,
But you're right.
yeah.
I agree with you, and I think that, though I do sometimes think that power oversees equity, and it's hard to bring them to be balanced.
Mhm,
Me in my mind, and look, I always say, in my mind, I'm
mhm.
always thinking that they need to be balanced, but I can't see. But as I say it, like I'm saying, like I'm speaking to you, I find that power is more higher than equity. May it be by a millimeter or maybe by a middle school. I still find power is overpowers equity. And I don't know if that's because of what the paradigm that I see or that I'm in and who I'm connected to, or is it that I don't know. I think no. I'm going to say it. I think it's the paradigm or the community that I'm starting to shift into that then allows the power to go over equity. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's right or wrong, but I
No,
see
I
it
mean,
and I
I think
feel
that
it.
just I think that just is, Pamela, and I think it's important to name that,
Yeah.
to achieve true equity, when we're talking like power and privilege, as
Hmm.
opposed to like personal empowerment, um, to achieve true equity, people with power need to give up power,
And that's hard.
and it's hard,
That's
and they don't want to.
yeah, that's
They don't
hard.
want to.
Especially when you have those alphas. The
Mhm.
alpha character of you just cussed at them and you just threw stones at them because let's be honest, that's their personality. They expect to be the dominating, they expect that power, and for you to take away or for you to say back up from that power, which then leads to other shifting paradigms in their lives, which then causes just another happening or happen in their lives is hard.
Mhm.
But I agree. It's I can see it. I have to say, the older I get, I'm starting to see it and I'm starting to feel it. I'm with you, man. I could talk about this equity and power all day
Well,
long.
can I bring up one thing real quick before
Yes.
we, transition to any other subject? What you're speaking of, it brings to mind something that, a really well-renowned relationship expert, Terry Real, calls the core collusion of patriarchy. And the core collusion of patriarchy is the ways in which, um, people keep patriarchy, people in power.
Yes.
And we do that because, um, if it like if we were to upset the person in power,
Yes.
there would be negative consequences for us. That's that
So
fear.
true. That's so
And
true.
he named, so like kind of circling back to the relationship dynamic, because what you're speaking of, in the general, like people don't want to give up power. This shows up in our marriages too, right? In our
Hmm.
relationships. And as women, as we talk about the courage we need to find our voice, to shift how we're being, right? That may be like shifting into a new dynamic in our relationship whereby we are asking our partner or spouse to be more equitable, to do more
Mm-hmm.
of the house care, right? To
That's
help,
true.
right? To like, to
Mm-hmm.
do more of the emotional labor, to show
Right.
up and be more intimate, right? And that means giving up some of the power.
Right.
And so the risk when you're asking someone to do that, what Terry Real names in this, why the core collusion, right, where we're like unconsciously working together to not disrupt this. The risk is he says one of three things tends to happen. The person in the masculine position will either blow up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get defensive, explode,
Yes.
critical, make you be the problem. You're too much. You're too emotional. You're too needy. Stop nagging me, right? Like all of that shit comes at us.
Yep.
We're either going to get that, or they're going to shut down, put up a wall, walk away, leave, abandon us in some kind of way, either like physically or emotionally, right? So we lose them because like they're so upset
Right.
now, they're just gone. Or they are so appalled by what we have confronted them with that they fall into shame and they
Mm-hmm.
fall apart. And now we, as caretakers, tend to have to do a lot of emotional labor to help put them back together because they don't know how to handle the shame that they feel for being such a bad husband, such a bad partner, such a bad, horrible person, that they didn't realize that they were doing so little or failing so much and or causing such harm, or right, that all that fragility that happens when people are confronted with the power that they didn't ask for and asked to give it up.
Right.
Right? So, and all of those things are painful for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so in fear of having to deal with those consequences, we don't speak up. We don't ask
True.
our needs to be met. We just tolerate it. We just deal with it. We regulate, we upregulate. We make sure that the person in power is happy and satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not too needy and we're not too emotional and we're doing our caretaking work, because if we don't, there's going to be consequences. And like in the example I shared with the client whose whole marriage blew up as soon as she started asking for her needs to be met, they
Right.
risk that. And this is why those dynamics, right, that power stays in
Mhm.
place over equity, even when we have spouses who genuinely identify as feminists, who
Yep.
genuinely want to be equitable, who genuinely want to be the best partners to us as possible. When we start like looking at it, it's hard. And
It
there's going to be
is.
resistance.
It is. It is. And then the resistance, though, then it calls for the shift of the dynamic in your life that you want, that you can see. It
Mhm.
postpones it, or better yet, it sits on this shelf. And then
Yes.
later down the line, you're like the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Instead
Mhm.
of saying, man, if I had just faced it head on, then
Oh my gosh.
we would be in such a different place.
Yes. And so we get this pattern in relationships, right? Where like people kind of hang in there. And I
Mhm.
just did a little rant on this the other day. People hang in there in their relationships because we think that this is normal, this
Right.
level of disconnection, dissatisfaction, tolerating conflict and issues not
That's
being
true.
resolved, right? And we just tolerate it and we leave it on the shelf and we don't really deal with it, because isn't this, what everybody kind of goes through in marriages, and it gets better and then we ignore it, but then it happens again until we can't tolerate it anymore, and then we
Yep.
move into crisis.
And
But by
that's
then, there's been years built up.
yep. And
And it,
resentment.
yes, and injuries and patterns of interaction and stories and
Mhm.
um and it's why couples therapy in particular I hear too often when I was working as a therapist, heard too often from people that their experiences in therapy actually made their relationships worse, because therapists don't know how to handle that level of intensity a lot of the time. And it's hard to bring a marriage back from that place. It
I
really
agree.
is.
I agree. I have to say, because there was there was a shift when I started shifting, where I wanted my life back for my health. Well, I had
Mhm.
the first thing, which, let me first say, having a therapist, I need y'all to understand. If y'all don't go get you a therapist, I don't know what everybody, I don't know how many people in my space are like, no, I don't need a therapist. And I'd be like, y'all the main ones. Y'all are the main ones to be like, I don't need it, but you do. You need it more than I do. And I love my little therapist. Sadly enough, she's passed, but I loved her. And I want people to first, we need to remove that stigma that
Mhm.
therapy is not, that it has some voodoo or something. I totally disagree. So I want to first talk about that, because there's so many people that I've come in contact with. I'm like, I say, I don't know, for a while there, I think I was saying it about 4 times a day to different people. And I was like, no, wait a minute, I'm up here promoting therapy. Better yet, if I know you need therapy and I'm not a therapist, then I know it's okay. I had to tell people, but I want people to understand therapy is the best ever. I think that everybody should go through therapy. I think first individuality had to go for me. I had to work on me. So the individual counseling, I felt, or therapy, had to first, because let's be honest, before I can bring in and work on us, I had to work on me. And I
Mm.
and that was and I had to be, and I had to say in my mind, may it sound selfish, I had to be selfish, because if I'm not, then it's not going to work.
All right. I'm going to challenge some of this though.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So, first of all, I will say yes to therapy. Let's get rid of the stigma. Everybody deserves help with our mental health.
Yes.
Even if you don't feel like you've got mental health issues, we all
True.
deserve somebody who is going to sit and listen to us and help us to grow, because we don't have the kind of community and support, most of us, in our
True.
lives.
True.
And the people who we do have often don't know how to respond in ways that are going to support us in leveling up who we be and
True. I
understanding
agree.
the
I agree.
layers that we need to be attending to and addressing, like a therapist does. They're stuck in
Right.
the same shit that we are, with the same
Right.
level of consciousness that we are. They
Right.
probably, unless you have like a therapist friend, but then don't overuse them because they get paid to do that work. So,
And then look, the relationship will end. But
right. So yes, yes to therapy. I will also say, however, as someone who has trained therapists, taught therapists, supervised therapists, worked with a lot of other therapists, and done a lot of worked as a therapist with clients who have seen lots of therapists and heard stories of
yes.
therapists. There are a lot of not good therapists out there.
Oh, I agree. No,
There
that
are, and
agree.
and so right, and I name that because those of us who are proponents of therapists talk therapy up, and then people go trying to find a therapist, have a shitty
True.
experience, and they're like, "What the
No,
hell?
right.
I
You're
thought this
right.
was supposed to help me."
You're
So,
right.
what I want to say is, um, like, find the right therapist for you, and it might take shopping around.
But I agree.
Take the time to shop around, and it sucks because a lot of therapists are full and they're not even going to get back to you, and it may take some time. You might have to be on waiting list. You might have to pay more than you want to get the right person, but there is nothing like finding the person you can click with who is going to change your freaking
Mhm.
life. There's nothing like it. And you, my love, are worth it. And if
Mhm.
you're working with somebody who is not that person, you
Find
might
you.
like her, but she's not changing your life. It's okay to fire her. I know it
Mhm.
sucks to start over, but just having someone to talk to if she's not actually helping you change your life, that's not the point of therapy. So keep trying, okay?
I
Keep trying.
agree. I
So
agree.
I wanted to put that caveat out there. The other thing I wanted to say, when it comes to relationship issues, actually, I I I think individual therapy is important, and um, I also think that individual therapy. Now, this is something that Terry Real says, the guy I just mentioned,
Yes.
and I 100% agree with him. says individual therapy is up to its ears in the core collusion, which is to say, individual therapists do not know how to make sense of or challenge the other, like the other partner.
True.
Right. And
Right.
so they may empower one individual, right?
Right.
They
But
might empower you right out of a perfectly workable relationship. Right.
I agree.
So what I would recommend instead is either having a both and a couples therapist and an individual therapist. If you know you
So
need to work on
that's
your
what I did have. So I
Mhm.
should have corrected myself. That's what I did have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but find a couples therapist who is willing to be in collaboration with your individual therapist. You can
Absolutely.
be, because not everybody does that. Like that's not part of everybody's
Absolutely.
training. It blows my mind. Or find a couples therapist who, like Calvin and I do, and we're not therapists, right? We've moved into relationship coaching and mentorship so that we can work with people outside of our state lines and in a more intimate and personally, I think, effective way. But we have created our program, Pamela, that in such a way that we address that individual work
Yep.
and the relational work simultaneously, because you're
Absolutely.
absolutely right. We need to have that individual work, do that individual work, learn how to be selfish,
Absolutely.
but learn how to be selfish relationally.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I'm glad you fixed that for me because you're absolutely right. Because that's what happened with us. First it was me, then us.
Mhm.
We. But you're right. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Look. I told you we could talk all day about this.
I told you that I could talk for hours about this too.
I can talk
Are we
about
having
this.
time already?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Oh
I
my god.
told you. So look, real quick, I want to ask you this. What does true power sharing, okay. Yeah, what does true power sharing look like in a conscious relationship today? Did we talk about that
Yeah, we
already?
did.
Okay. Look, I'm just so ecstatic about this. And then lastly, how can a woman cultivate emotional leadership in the relationships, careers, and community without defaulting to caretaking?
Mm, yes. um, you know, I think this is a practice of gaining consciousness around how things feel for you. The question that I would recommend you ask yourself is, who was I doing this for?
Mm,
Was I
true.
doing this for me because it felt good for me to do? Because I chose to, because it's part of my the way that I desire to love the people in my life? Or did I choose to do this because I felt obligated to, or because I was afraid of how somebody would react if I didn't do it? One is a sovereign choice. And girl, you take care of as many people as you want to if you're choosing it sovereignly, right?
Mm,
That is your own, like, relational leadership.
yes.
But if you're doing it because you have to, because you are preventing negative outcomes from someone else, because you are protecting them, because you don't think they can handle what would happen if you didn't do it for them, right? If you didn't take care of them.
Mhm.
That's why
Mhm.
we caretake for our children, because they can't handle,
Right. Right.
right, their lives or their emotions. They're making their meals, staying alive if we didn't do it for them. But our partners, our coworkers, our employees, our bosses, our family members, our parents, our friends, that's different,
Mhm. You're
right?
right.
So why? Why am I choosing to do this? Who am I doing it for? And the more that you get aware of that, the more you're going to be able to recognize which move you're making and which move you desire to make, because
Mhm.
it's all about, leading your relationships is all about having a clear sense of what is it that I want to create? Like, what is it I want to experience here? What kind of relationship do I want to have with this person?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what next step can I take that's going to get me there? And
Absolutely.
sometimes that next step means I need to not do this caretaking, because if what I want to have is a more equitable relationship, me
Right.
continuing to do this thing that facilitates inequity doesn't help.
I agree. I agree. Well, doctor, this was fun. I told you we could talk all day. I mean,
No
no.
joke. We totally could.
So before I let you go, I have here some rapid fire questions. Are you
Mm,
ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Yay. So the first one is, what's the biggest misconception about conscious relationship?
The biggest misconception about conscious relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, um, that I think that it has to be hard. That it's gonna be hard, and the truth is that it gets to be easy. Like it can be really easy, especially when you know what you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
understand the process, right? Have a way of making sense of the unfolding, because it takes some time to learn.
True.
That doesn't mean that it has to be hard. And then recognize that um, expending energy is different from things being hard. Hard is an evaluation. It's a meaning that we make about it, right? So, like, yeah, it's going to take energy sometimes. Not as
Mm-hmm.
much energy as we think, especially
True.
when we're doing it from a place of like love and sovereignty and awareness and eager anticipation of what we know that we're creating in this
Yes.
shift that's going to liberate us and our relationship and our life and bring so much more into us. Then it doesn't have to be so hard. It's not like we're like having to pay attention to every little thought, every little move, every little word all the time. It's a different. It's the way of just building muscle memory such that you can tie your shoe without thinking about it, or drive your car home and not realize what you were doing, and suddenly you're home.
I
That's
like
where we
that.
get to.
I like that. Next one. What is your response when someone crosses a boundary that you've set?
Ooh. I I love what my own mentor says about this. She says that when you are the boundary, you don't need to respond to the boundary,
Mm.
right? You don't need to like say anything
Ooh.
about it because you are the boundary. So that means like we say no, and that's
Mhm.
not okay, and we hold our boundaries. So when someone crosses a boundary, that means that we have not held our boundary, and that's an us thing, right?
That's true.
That's a sovereign thing.
That is so true. One word that describes healthy love.
One word. Relationality.
Ooh, that's powerful. That's powerful. What does she shift mean to you personally?
Mm. She shift for me is about the power that we have as extraordinary women to create the life that we desire anytime, to
I love,
shift and shift and shift again, higher and higher into the lives, into the selves, into the destinies that Source has planned for us in the highest good.
I love it. Then lastly, what's one daily habit that keeps you in line in love and in purpose?
Mm. Um, I I'm so excited to share this one because it is a new daily habit, Pamela,
Okay.
and I'm committed to it because it feels so good. So, um, I I have started doing morning conversations with source with my partner, Calvin.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may call it prayer. I have a different relationship with source God than most people who use prayer do. So
Yeah.
I'm calling it conversations with source.
Okay.
Or this morning I was like, maybe we should just call these like morning rampages because that's what they feel like.
Okay.
But we sit together, cross-legged, and hold each other's hands or arms and close our eyes. And usually I lead because he doesn't always know what to say, and clearly I like to talk. um, and I go on a little rampage about how grateful I am for all that I have, for all that I know that I've already created and that is on its way to me, for the people I'm meant to serve. I ask Source to lead me, and to guide me. I surrender my problems and my pain and my purpose to infinite intelligence because it knows a lot better than my ego does. I ask for, for signs if I forget, to help me remember what is true and what I'm here for opportunities to serve and support others and to be the light and the love in the world. And I just go on, whatever flows through me, I'm just like saying, and it raises my vibration and it helps me feel connected to Calvin. It helps me feel grateful for my life. It helps me feel abundant in energy. It helps me connect to the possibilities of the day, of what I'm creating in my future, and of the purpose that I'm here for. And
Yeah.
it's, the way that we start our days and the way that we end our days are really, really life-changing moments. Like, even if we're just taking 5 minutes to do a
Mm-hmm.
small ritual to begin and end our day and have those little end caps, that can be transformative in setting you up for the unfolding of something far better than it otherwise would have had you skipped it. And so I am committed to continuing this one because it's just feeling so good.
I'm excited. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Like when I check back in with you.
Yeah,
Well, Dr. Jenny, this was so much fun as always. We always have a blast. I think,
it's true.
and I feel that this one even vibrate or made our vibrations take us higher to make us feeling like that the shift is possible and that we
Mm.
can do it no matter what. Maybe
Mhm.
that we face the power and the equity maybe not in line together, but we can still do it and know
Mm.
that the outcome is going to be okay. And
Yes.
it's going to be okay. But with that being said, I have two more questions and then we're done.
Okay.
Sad. I'm sad. My first question, Dr. Jenny, is what is your what's next?
What is my what's next? You know, two things, Pamela. One, I am doing a lot more speaking, and so I'm speaking a lot more in women entrepreneurial groups
Yes.
and networking spaces, which I am loving because we are world changers, and I want the world changers, especially the women world changers, to be out there changing the world and having relationships that support them. But I'm also starting a new kind of adventure in our business where I'm exploring speaking to colleges and universities, seeing if I can get some of
Ooh.
this message out to our next generation of leaders and professionals in the world and support them in this consciousness shift sooner.
Oh, I can see that. Ooh, that gave me chills. I can see that so
Mhm.
clearly. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they?
Yes, please reach out. I am here for support in all kinds of ways. The best way to reach out to me is probably through email or social media. Facebook in particular. I'm old school. I am on Instagram, but like not as much. So my email address, I'm sure will be in the show notes, but it's
Yep.
also connect@powerfullove.com. Powerful love is one word, and powerful and love share the L. So powerful love, one word, one L. Connect@powerfullove.com. That's my email. And you can find me on Facebook at jenny.wahlig. That's my personal Facebook page, but that's where I am most active. And we've got a lot of really wonderful opportunities for support, lots of resources, both free and paid in lots of different kind of investment ranges. So really, this work is a mission. This is my divine assignment, and I am always in desire to explore how I can serve and support. So get a hold of me, and we'll
Yeah,
find the way that's right for you. If it
absolutely.
feels like I might be the person to support you.
Absolutely. Told you guys. Okay, doctor. Last one. What is one message you whisper to every woman listening today?
Hmm. This is the one that's coming up for me today to share. And it connects to something we talked about earlier in the show. And it's this. It's a little metaphor. And it goes like this. A bird does not land on the branch because it knows that the branch won't break. It lands on the branch because it trusts its own wings to fly.
Ooh, that's powerful. Well, Dr. Jenny, as this was fun. I knew it would be. I'm not surprised. I'm excited that you joined me.
Oh,
We'll
I'm
have
honored. It was such a
Yeah,
pleasure.
this was fun. I hope we can stay in connection, stay connected, and
Yes,
have
please.
you back on next year, which is in 2 months. It's scary to even think this.
It's wild.
Isn't it? It's so wild. Well, real quick, I'm gonna put you in the green room. Don't hang up yet. I'm just gonna wrap us up.
No worries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Pamela.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, you guys. The Dr. Jenny dropped so many nuggets. I hope you all have found that we talked about equity and we talked about power and how they work hand in hand together on relationships. I felt that we needed to talk about this as because I said, in order for us to shift, we have to work on our inner work. And I'm committed for us to work on the inner work inside and not on the surface, because that's the only way the shift will happen. So I want you all to understand you only have one life to live, and I want you to live it to the fullest for you, not for anybody else. And knowing that your what's next is simply right around the corner, understand that equity and power will get you there, and as well as creating those relationships as we talked about earlier in our conversation. If you missed the entire show, go back and check us out. We are on our show is played on all large podcast platforms. If you I always believe in, if you could, sharing is caring, so we can go out here, we can empower women around the world. Can't do it by ourselves. We have to do it arm in arm. And then lastly, drop us some notes, drop us some kudos, drop us some feedback. As you know, the more feedback we get, the more kudos we get, it moves us up the ladder. And then though, lastly, if you are interested in becoming a sponsor, as it is for Vision Made magazine, drop me a line. You can DM me, you can do it all, and just email me at visionsmadellc@gmail.com, or you can do it at sheshiftpodcast@gmail.com. One of those two emails, and we can definitely work out getting a sponsor for you. Well, everyone, this was fun. I know I had a blast. I knew I would. I hope this has empowered you to get you inspired to work on your what's next. Until next week with another amazing guest as I have. Take care, everyone.